Beth Davenport from Mothers Out Front Lexington, and I'd like to welcome you to the 5th Climate Coffee Break, sponsored by Mothers Out Front Lexington, and to thank you all for making the time to come today. And our speaker is Andrew Rousseau, partner and compost manager of Black Earth Compost, which provides compost service for households, businesses, schools, and municipalities throughout Eastern Massachusetts and Rhode Island. After getting his bachelor's at UMass Amherst, Andrew moved out west to ski and to continue his studies. Okay. He worked as a software developer and as an oceanographer for the University of East Anglia. And during this period, he went on 7 research cruises to the Southern Ocean and the Atlantic. He realized that he yearned to study nutrient recycling. So he returned to land to get a master's degree in this subject. When Massachusetts became the first state to implement a ban on food waste going to landfills and incinerators, Andrew decided to leave academia and joined Connor Miller in his endeavor to create Black Earth Compost. And so if you could go to the next slide, thank you. Our format for today is to hear a short presentation from Andrew, and then we're going to invite you to take an action, and we'll go over the steps for that. And you'll have 5 to 10 minutes to do that. And then we'll come back together for a few minutes for questions and comments. And so I'm going to hand this over to you, Andrew, and welcome.
Okay. Hello. All right, there you are. Cool. My name's Andrew. I'm an owner and managing partner of Black Earth, and we pick up a lot of food scraps in Lexington. Lexington is one of, I would call, the strongholds. You guys really support us. Like even our hometown in Gloucester, there's more people in Lexington than in Gloucester who compost. So I'm going to discuss what we do and how and why composting is the easiest thing someone can do to affect their carbon number. You know, it's the easiest way that you can do something at your home to affect climate change. You know, it's $2 to $3 a week for pickup. You know, it's not a $50,000 electric car. It's not solar panels. It's a small charge each week. So let me show you a bit on what we do and show you some of our compost sites. All right. So this is our truck that you see, and here's the bin. So we come around each week and we pick up your bins. And the difference between us and a different, like the trash company, is we use small, efficient trucks that, you know, when you're going door to door, there's a lot less mass that you need to accelerate. Like a trash truck weighs maybe 30 tons or maybe 20 tons, but our truck weighs 5 tons. And so just going from house to house, there's a lot less fuel you need for that. So we've sized the hammer for the right nail, so to speak. Someday, we're already on lists to get electric versions of these trucks. And so that's our plan, is to electrify this, because it's a small route truck that only goes short distances. So it's perfect for electric applications. Let me show you our compost sites. So we have 3 sites right now. One in Groton, Mass, which is this. We have a smaller one in Framingham, and then we have another one in Manchester by the Sea, which is our first site. Well, not our first, but our main site right now. So here's the Groton facility. So here we've built a small structure for the trucks to unload inside, and we do the initial stages of composting inside. And the air is drawn out of the building and pushed through a large bed of wood chips, 40 feet by 40 feet, and that helps control odors during the initial stages of composting. And from there, the material goes into windrows where it's finished. And then ultimately it is screened. So back here, you can see our screener. Here's some finished material under tarp because people don't like wet material. And so this is like our flagship site right now, because it has the building and it's how we want to compost. So right now we're building an additional one in Manchester by the Sea that'll be 4 times this size, so it can handle more food scraps. And that's exciting and frustrating and challenging all at the same time. But that's where we're headed. And I mean, it's really just from support from our customers all across Eastern Mass, just providing food scraps each week, paying us to do that. And then we're able to put that money into real infrastructure in Massachusetts. So, all right, so why is composting the easiest thing someone can do to affect their carbon output? So first of all, getting the food scraps out of the landfills is important. So the food scraps, when they get put in the landfill, they start to ferment and they release methane, which goes into the atmosphere. And methane, we all know, is much worse than CO2. And now people can say, oh, well, the landfill has, methane gas capture. But the thing is that methane gas capture, it's not installed until after the trash cell is completed, which could take years. So there's this open face where the methane's leaking out of that entire time. And I can tell you that food scraps start to degrade within hours. And so methane's being produced pretty quickly. So that open face of the landfill is just leaking methane and other greenhouse gases. So not to mention that food scraps are 90% water. And so when you're adding food waste to a pack of trash, you're just squeezing out all that liquid from the food scraps, and it's percolating down through the trash. It's fermenting, so it's getting acidic. And so then you're mobilizing heavy metals that might be in the trash. And then what you have out the bottom is leachate, landfill leachate, which is just this awful liquid that there's no good way to deal with it. It has everything in your trash, and they send it to wastewater treatment plants, and it gets discharged to the rivers after they treat it. Some landfills continually circulate the liquid, so it just stays on site, and there's liners on the bottom, but like the liners eventually get a leak. It's like a thin piece of plastic underneath like 100 feet of trash. So, I mean, the industry takes care of it, but I'm not saying the solution's great. And ultimately, we'd rather have our trash be dry and like more plastic rich. And so putting food waste in doesn't make sense. And vegetables don't burn well to make energy and incineration facilities. So that's the first thing, is just getting the food scraps out of the trash stream is huge. Now, the second thing is, the second thing is the value of the compost. So there's not only the fertilizer value, but there's also the increased plant growth you can get out of that. So I'm going to talk about both those things real quick. The fertilizer. So this is the reason that I got into organic waste management. is because where does fertilizer come from? Now, normally I'd ask you people if you're all muted. So it's mined out of rock and atmosphere. So the way it works is we mine fertilizer, phosphorus, potassium, nitrogen, sulfur, etc. We mine it, we process it, we use it once on a farm field, and then a lot of it either stays in the soil or it runs off, and some of it ends up in the plant, and then it makes it into the food, and then we eat it. And by the time we eat it, we're only eating a small percent of the original amount of fertilizer that was mined. Like, it's a very inefficient process, our modern agriculture regarding fertilizer. So, you know what, I'm not explaining this very well. Let me bring up a visual. Just bear with me and I will find it. Okay. All right, let's start with this one. Okay, so this is for phosphorus. It's an element, so it needs to be mined from rock. Here's your reserves. So 17.5 million tons is how much we mine every year. And then we convert that, 14.9 million becomes fertilizer. 14 million of that gets applied to soil every year. 8 million is lost to inland, to water, soil, etc. Now we add another 8 million through animal manure. So now 12 million of that phosphorus gets in the crops. Then we lose 3 million due to crop losses. 7 million tons of phosphorus atoms end up in the harvested crop. This amount's fed to animals, back to manure, lost. So now getting it into food, you got 3.5 million tons get into food. And then 3 million tons get into humans. And then from there, we excrete it, and goes down the toilet, goes to the wastewater treatment plant, goes out to the waters, or gets into biosolids, which sometimes get used. Now, what Black Earth does, we're right here, 0.2. This is the recycling stream that we're trying to do, is get the food waste back to farms. So that's a visual for the flow of it. Now, this is to show you. So this is my most favorite chart. So this is the sources of phosphorus that society uses and where we got it from. So green's manure. So this is saying that in 2010, we got about 3 million tons per year of phosphorus just from manure. From biosolids, looks like we got very little. And this big brown amount, so that's about, so if this is at 22 minus 3, that's about 19 million tons is mined out of rock. So this, we are dependent on mining this much phosphorus every single year. And if you notice, we became dependent back in the 60s, which was during the Green Revolution, when science allowed us to grow more food for the entire world population, which is great. Now we have more food, and there was other achievements, you know, plant breeding, mechanization, all that. These are all achievements. But I would argue that we really just became dependent on fertilizer. So that's where we're at. Now, where does the fertilizer come from? So this is a facility that produces nitrogen fertilizer. Let me just back up a little. So nitrogen fertilizer, there's Cuba. So here we are on the Mississippi River down south of Baton Rouge. This nitrogen fertilizer production facility. Now there's another big one over in Trinidad, Tobago. And so this is where they mine nitrogen out of the atmosphere. And they do it by taking hydrogens off of natural gas. So why is there a major nitrogen facility in Trinidad Tobago? Because they have enormous natural gas reserves. And so that means there's a lot of hydrogens to put on nitrogen.
Andrew,
now, let's just
to let
ahead.
you know, you have another couple of minutes.
Okay, cool. So just phosphorus. Here is some phosphorus mining and processing facilities. These are piles of phosphogypsum, which they can't use. And let's just swing over to Africa to a phosphorus mine over here. So here we have a phosphorus mine. This is the phosphogypsum that they can't use. And this right here is a 60-mile conveyor that they use. 60-mile conveyor to move phosphorus over to the ocean to then ship it. Anyways, so that's about fertilizer. That's my things. That's why I talked about it. But going back to, so composting, we are recycling those nutrients. So the phosphorus that was mined, nitrogen, potassium, that's what we're recycling. We're taking those nutrients that's in the wasted food and we're turning it into compost that can be used again for growing food. So you don't have to mine it. So all we're saying is for every atom of phosphorus that's mined, let's use it twice to grow food rather than just once, which is what's currently happening. So last thing I'll talk about is growing, like turning your yard into a carbon sink. So we have this thing called the Annual Carbon Club, where in September you get 1 yard of compost, and it comes with these instructions on how to use it to turn your yard into a carbon sink or more of one. And basically it's about feeding your trees. And so if you guys can see this here, here's your tree, here's the feeder roots. And so we're saying apply compost here. And that's going to lead to increased biomass growth, which draws down carbon. And it's going to, so it allows the plant to do more photosynthesis, which then means it can push more sugars down into the soil. And then those sugars are eaten by the microbiome. And that's what stores carbon in the soil. The compost itself, like people think, oh, I'm applying compost, like I'm storing carbon, but it's not, that's not it. Like the compost is just a vehicle for the nutrients, nitrogen, phosphorus, potassium, so that the plants can then grow better. And the plants, they convert CO2 to carbon, to sugar, and they push it down into their roots, and then the microbes eat it. I just said it, I'm just repeating myself now. So feed in this donut shape around your tree. And these are the instructions it comes with. So you got some trees here, you mark out some lines, you spread compost, and you see that like the tree's feeder roots, they should be where this asphalt is. But you know what? We put asphalt there. So like there's very little space where the tree's feeder roots can feed. And so we're arguing that you should get compost once a year and apply it where in the very few spaces where the tree is able to feed and help them out. Not to mention that trees reduce the heating of your local neighborhood. and air conditioning is 10% of global electricity use. I think I'm out of time.
Great, thank you so much. And are you able to stay a little bit at the end if people have some questions?
Oh yeah, I can stay. I got time.
So we're going to move into the action part of this climate coffee break. And Mandy, you're going to have the slide up. It has the link, or did you put it in the chat? You can go back to the slide. Great. We're inviting you all to take action today, and we're going to walk you through this of going to Energize Lexington, which is our new climate action site. And it's very exciting. There's all sorts of great information there. And the first step is to go onto the link that's here. And I think it's also in the chat. And so Mandy's going to do that, and I'll walk you through it. When you're on that link, click on Take Action. And then you're going to scroll down to Compost Kitchen Waste. Okay. Just give people a minute for that. And then you go to Steps to Take. And you'll see right there the link that will take you right to Black Earth Compost. And so when you click on that link, you'll see a button for signing up. And for those of you who haven't signed up yet, you can go on there and actually put your address in and get an estimate of what it would cost. And very reasonable weekly and yearly rates. So we're going to give you some time to do that. And for those of you who already are part of Black Earth Compost or aren't quite ready yet to sign up, use this time to explore their website or explore the Lexington Energize website, because there's a lot of good information there.
Yeah, and if you're interested in signing up for the annual Carbon Club, you can contact us directly. It's a option we have in our compost store. You sign up, and then we get everyone on board, and then we deliver it all at once in September, October.
Great, thank you.
Okay, fine.
Give everybody another minute to either sign up,
Okay.
explore the site.
Andrew, did you see that question? Where does most of your compost, your finished compost go?
Yeah, I was wondering if they meant the picked up compost or the finished compost.
Finished, I think.
Yeah, finished. Most of it goes back to homeowners, and the next biggest user is farms, which is really what we want to do. We actually subsidize the farms. Like they pay 35 a yard and homeowners pay 75 a yard.
How many farms do you have? Are they big farms or little farms or?
So mostly small vegetable farms, because like large farms, they use liquid mined fertilizer because they're big and that's easy. And small vegetable farmers, they value the nutrients from the compost more, because like they're going for high value on a small acreage as opposed to like low value on a large acreage.
Yep, makes sense. And there's another question in there. Does the food waste from our town go to Framingham or Manchester right now?
I would guess Manchester.
Okay.
It might actually go to Groton though too. I'm not sure.
Okay.
So great. In the time that we have left, let's open it up for any questions or comments. Any participants on the call have any questions or comments?
Yeah, I've been using Black Earth for a long time and we love it, and a lot of our neighbors are using it now. But my question is, it would be nice to have more explicit instructions about what can and can't be put in, because my attitude has been, if you're unsure, don't put it in, because I don't want to screw things up. But things like cardboard that has a little bit of glue on it, or a little tag from something, or I know newspapers are okay, but kind of are the glossy type of magazines are okay. So, at some point, if you could put out more explicit details about what can and can't go into the bin would be great.
Yeah. So on our website, there's a yay and nay list. It's under residential and composting guide. Let me post a link for that. But yeah, for compostable plates, cups, cardboard, pizza boxes, all that, it needs to be certified compostable. And that can be a high bar sometimes for, pizza boxes, for example, but I have seen them out there that are certified.
Any other questions?
Hi there. I'd like to share a comment.
Sure.
Hi there. This is Alex Savalas. I serve as a volunteer on the Lexington Waste Reduction Task Force, and we have certified Black Earth as a official vendor for the town. I don't know if this came up earlier. I was about 5 minutes late to the meeting. But as a town, we need to nearly double the amount of residents that are participating in the program in order to start reducing the annual cost for residents. So I just want to thank all of you for sharing the word here and educating our neighbors. So the more we sign up, we also will be saving the town tens of thousands of dollars in waste reduction, right? So the more food we can divert to composting, either in our yards or in the curbside composting pilot that's going on right now, or through Black Earth, we save the town tons of taxpayer dollars. And the more folks who sign up, the less expensive it'll become for us to become members. So I just want to thank you all and encourage you to continue to spread the word and get more people to sign up.
Great, thank you.
We've used Black Earth for ages, and we use it at Temple Amuna also. I have a question. If more and more you'll see things that say compostable, do they have to have a BPI certification to be truly compostable for Black Earth?
Yep. So BPI, CMA, TUV is okay compost. Yeah, we need those. certifications.
Okay, not just the word compostable.
Correct. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I wish we could take more, but the issue is performance molecules, chemicals that get put onto you know, all of our single-use items, specifically PFAS, is sprayed on as a grease water barrier.
Mhm.
And if it's not certified, then we can't guarantee it doesn't have that. Like you should, and like school trays were a big one. Like school trays all have PFAS sprayed on them. And I mean, I wouldn't want that anyways as a parent, but we definitely don't want them in the compost.
You should know that Stop and Shop's single-use paper plates and everything are BPI certified,
Awesome.
which is nice.
Yeah. Yeah, it's good to talk with, you know, those commercial places, whether they're restaurants or someone mentioned Chipotle or Sweet Greens or Stop and Shop, like talk to them about their compostables. And if they have BPI certified, like thank them, you know, because it is more expensive and it is harder, and they need to hear that people care.
How do we get restaurants to use certified compostable containers for takeout food? Can that be mandated by towns or?
I mean, yes, it can, but I would say you'd have to have townwide service first, because what's the point of mandating it if people are bringing them home and they don't have compost service?
Right.
But
Sure.
yeah,
So,
another thing I'll mention is just like, keep in mind that the organic waste management movement and industry, like the compostable industry, we're in the dark ages right now. Like 10 years ago, you couldn't really get curbside composting service, and compostable plates, cups, and all that was like unheard of, especially certified. And so, you know, we're 10 years in, this is the dark ages, and in another 10 years, there's going to be more options and more people do it. And another 10 years, even more. So like, I just encourage people to, you know, not try and force it to go too fast, or like, just don't be upset if it doesn't happen tomorrow. Like, you know, solar panels took 40 years and now they're on everyone's roof. So
What happens to the compost that the town of or the city of Cambridge collects? Because our kids put a lot of stuff in their compost that we would never put in for black earth. What does Cambridge do with their compost?
So Cambridge takes their food waste to the core facility where it gets depackaged, and the packaging goes in the trash, and then the slurry that comes out goes to the Lawrence wastewater treatment plant. It's injected there into their anaerobic digester, and it saves them money at the Lawrence wastewater treatment plant, and it reduces the amount of biosolids they produce. But it's not necessarily recycling, you know, because wastewater treatment plants are designed to dispose of nitrogen.
so I just want to mention that we've come to the end of our time for this climate coffee break. And for those of you who have to leave, thank you for coming. And thank you, Andrew, so much. And I don't know if you're able to stay for another minute or two, if there's any other questions, but those of you who have to leave, thanks again for coming, and keep your eye out for our next climate coffee break. And also to mention, for those of you who aren't part of Mothers Out Front and you're interested in becoming part of Mothers Out Front or on our mailing list, please put your email in the chat. And now we'll just open up for we just have time for another question or two.
Andrew, somebody asked about composting in their backyard.
Yeah, I don't even compost in my backyard. I don't have time. Like, I could do it, you know, and I could do it without animals getting at it, but I just don't have time. So that's why I use the service. But yes, ultimately that is the best if everyone just did it in the backyard. But you know, that no one has time.
Any other questions or comments?
Someone mentioned about the Lexington farm, and like, yes, we already spoke with them. About composting, but they don't have enough space to do it on site.
All right. Thank you
Great.
so much,
Thank you all
everyone.
so much. And thank you, Andrew. This was great.
Yeah, thank you. I would encourage everyone to sign up for the annual Carbon Club. Like that's a great thing. It's about putting the compost to its highest and best use. You know, we're not taking it and putting it into a bag to make potting soil, you know, that's blended with peat and everything. We're taking the compost and we're putting it directly onto trees to turn Eastern Mass into a carbon sink. So, highest
I
and
did
best
it this
use.
year and it was easy. It was pretty
Cool.
easy. I did it. Yeah. Yeah, it's good.
Great campaign.
Cool.
Thanks, everyone.
All right.
Okay, thank you, everybody.